The goals and additional expenses section is where you add expenses that might not recur every year, such as paying for a kid's college, new cars, or a mortgage. It's also where you enter expenses that you think will grow at a different rate than your general living expenses. As an example of what to enter here, I have vacations that begin when John retires. They last 20 years, and then the vacation steps down to $4,000 a year when they're older because they won't travel as much. I also have in here college expenses for their children. I have tied these expenses to a 529 plan. If the 529 plan runs out of money before they're done with college, then the payment process goes through the typical process to fund expenses. It's important to point out that you do not want to include expenses pre-retirement that are paid out of salary. The program assumes that whatever you don't save from your salary income must have been spent. The only expenses that will occur before retirement that you want to include here are those that will be funded by your investments or a cash inflow from the additional cash inflow section. An example is you're still working, but you need to take money out of a bank account to pay for a home remodel. In this case, you do want to enter this as an expense here. In this example, I entered $100,000 for a home remodel. This occurs before retirement, and they are going to pay for it out of money they have in a bank account. In other words, it's not coming out of salary, so I need to enter it here. I have also entered expenses for medical costs before Medicare starts because this couple is retiring early and they will need to pay for private health insurance. Once Medicare begins at age 65, their medical costs decline. Notice how I changed the growth rate of medical expenses to be 4%, which is slightly above my inflation rate. That is because I assume that medical costs will continue to grow at a higher rate than typical inflation. You can also enter expenses that will occur periodically, like buying a new car. In this example, I have a car being purchased every 10 years, and that goes on forever. We also have a mortgage that ends at the mortgage maturity date in 2053. I mentioned before that you do not want to include expenses pre-retirement that are paid out of salary. A mortgage is a good example of this. If the mortgage is paid out of salary income pre-retirement, you want to start this expense at the retirement of the first person who retires.